In this video, we're going to look at ways that we can translate parts accurately, translate boundaries accurately, and also some functionalities that we can use to draw lines and arcs with a bit more precision. So the first thing we're going to do is put something out here to move around our screen. Now that we have something out here in the viewport, let's talk about ways that we can move this around and be precise about where we want it to be placed. So I'm going to go up to the Transformations menu, and I'm going to use the Translate button. Translate will let us select the object or objects that we would like to move. Then we pick a base point. So we can use our Object Snap tool to pick what we would like to be snapping to and setting as our base point. Typically this is on automatic, so whatever your cursor is hovering nearest will be selected. So in this example, I'm just going to select the corner point on this cube. Okay. And now we can see that we are moving the cube by this area. All right. But if we want to be very specific about where we're placing this, we could manually place it by using the mouse and clicking somewhere in the viewport. But let's say I actually want to move this cube only 2 inches in the positive direction on the x-axis. To do that, you can use what we call the distance command. You type the letter D, then you type the axis you would like to move in. So in this example, we're going to use the x-axis. And then you type the amount you would like to move in that axis. Of course, this is going to be dependent on what unit of measure you have Nucleo set for. Currently, I'm in the imperial measurement. So when I type in 2, it's going to understand that to mean 2 inches. Obviously, if we are in metric, it's going to understand that to mean 2 millimeters. All right, so distance in X, 2, press enter, and you'll see it's taken our cube and moved it over 2 inches in X. It hasn't changed where it is in Z or in Y. Those are preserved exactly where they were. All that's changed is where our cube is located in X. Now, this command can be combined with other axes of movement as well. So, for example, let's select this cube again. We'll use the same base point, this corner point on the end. Now we can say we want to go distance in X minus 1 inch. We can also say distance in Z, not putting a space between these commands, just distance in Z that we would like to go 2 inches. And then also distance in Y, 2 inches. All right, so we're going to move it back 1 inch in X, up 2 inches in Z, and up 2 inches in Y, all in one time. Press enter. All right, if we zoom out, we can see that it has now moved up 2 inches in Z, up 2 inches in Y. It's moved back 1 inch in the x-axis for us. So those are some handy ways that you can maneuver your parts and be a little more specific about where things are going. Something else that you can do is you can move at an angle. So for instance, I can say to initiate what angle that you would like this to move at, type the letter B. So B is what's going to represent our angle. So first we need to type in the letter B, then the angle that we would like to move at. We'll say 45 degrees. And then which direction do we want to move? All right. Well, I'm going to say I'm going to go distance again in X, 6 inches. So I want to go over 6 inches positively in X, but I want to make that distance. I want to go that distance while moving at a 45-degree angle. All right. So when we press the check mark, you'll see that it has moved over 6 inches and it clearly went at a 45-degree angle to get to that point. Right. So you can mix and match a bunch of those terms and ways of interacting with the console in Nucleo to change and manipulate where your parts are going. Right. These very same tools can be used when manipulating boundaries, clamps, and even drawing. If we go to the draw menu at the top and use the single line tool, right, we can snap to the origin here. And you can see I can type in B, 45, and then distance in X, 6, press enter, and you'll see again a 45-degree line that's gone over 6 inches in the x-axis. Right. We can continue drawing while we're in this drawing tool. I can snap to the end of this, and I can say distance in X2 It goes over exactly 2 inches in X for us. So we can use this while drawing as well. And now we're looking at a fixture, and we want to change where the height of these boundaries are at. Obviously, the simplest way to do this is select the boundary, and then select the transformation tool. So you want to do move, right? And then set the increment you want to move at, and then choose the axis, right? And that's a very simple, straightforward way of doing that. If you want a bit more control though, you can actually click the freeform button. The freeform button, right, is going to ask us to work with a copy of the selected boundary or not. Currently, I don't want to work with a copy, so I'm going to say no, right? You select the boundary, right? And then we need to select a base point on this boundary, right? So I'm just going to select the corner of the boundary. And just like earlier when we're moving the cube around, we can do some things with this boundary now. You'll see at the top of the viewport, it's giving you a list of different commands you can use. We could use the rotate command, we could scale it, and we can also translate. So all we have to do is press T for translate, R for rotate, S for scale, or if you wanted a mirror, you could use the mirror command. All right, I'm just going to press T for translate. All right, and you see I'm starting to move the boundary by that corner point. Now again, we can use these commands that we were talking about earlier. So distance in X, or distance in Z rather, we'll do that. I could say 1, and it's going to go up exactly 1 inch from its original location. When I press enter, it'll show me a preview of what I have done and just let me see exactly what the change is going to be. Once I'm ready to commit to that change, I can just press the check mark, right, and it'll commit those changes. Right, so again, freeform, right, select the boundary, and we're just going to select the endpoint down here. All right, press the T for translate. Right. If we want to be really specific, like maybe we know exactly the height we would like, you can usually look on the left-hand side of Nucleo and you'll have a ruler that indicates heights. You can also just say, I want to be at Z4. So I'm going to just tell this point that I have selected, don't move in X, don't move in Y, stay exactly where you are. I just want you to go down to exactly Z4. So 4 inches up in Z. We'll press the enter button, right? It's going to show me a preview of what that looks like. Press the check mark to commit those changes. And there we go. It's exactly 4 inches up in Z. Another very useful trick to have in your back pocket is the ability to reference things on a solid, or reference other points to create a point. I'll show you what I mean. We'll demonstrate. All right. Let's just say I want to move this box. And let's say this box had no bottom to it. So typically if I wanted to move this box, I could just tell it to translate, select the midpoint of that bottom face, and I'd be moving by the center of that box. All right, but let's just say this was clear cut all the way through, completely open box. There was no bottom plate that you could just easily select the midpoint of. How would I select the center of this box in that scenario? All right. Well, what we can do is go to translate, right, and select our box. Okay. And when we are deciding on what our from position or our base point position is going to be, we can declare a few things to Nucleo. First, we can tell it that in X, right? I'm going to type the X now. In X, we need this point to match whatever the X value is of the midpoint of this side of the box. So I'm just going to hover over to that side of the box. It's going to grab the midpoint, right? And it's telling me that that is exactly at 0 on the x-axis. All right, so it's going to type in 0 right there. All right, and then in Y, we can say Y. We can select the midpoint here, right? And it's also telling me that this is at Y0. All right, but when we press Enter, you can see we're moving by the center of the box now. Okay. So let's just repeat that again. Let's just move it over here so that you can see how it's actually grabbing the X and Y value. So again, translate, select this box, right? And my from position is going to be X, whatever the midpoint is of this spot on the side of the box, right? You can see it's definitely grabbing that X value there. And then Y, whatever the midpoint is of this side of the box. Right? And it's typing it in there. And you can see it's creating like a little crosshair shape right in the middle of the box. This is where the point is that we are identifying for Nucleo. So it's creating that point for us. Right? Now we can press enter, right? And we are moving by that area of the box. So this works great for boxes like this. Where it's really great is square tubing. So you may not be able to select the dead center of it, right? But using this tool, by being able to select the X value and the Y value, or even the X value and the Z value, you can narrow down a precise location on the part that you're trying to move. So it's a very useful trick. Hopefully a demonstration of a few of these things have cleared some things up for you and are going to make Nucleo a lot easier to work with in certain respects. Please let us know if you have any other questions. We're always here to help. And thank you for watching this video.